Welcome to the Forgive Yourself podcast, where we explore what it means to truly forgive ourselves so we can live our most authentic and best life. Now, today's episode is all about intimacy, but not the kind you might be thinking of. No, it's not about sex. It's about a deeper kind of connection, the one we have with ourselves. It's what I call into me see. Get it? Intimacy. Into me see. For us high achieving women, the idea of intimacy can be clouded by external validations and expectations, like looking for love in all the wrong places, expecting to be fulfilled by someone outside of us, doing things for the accolades only to feel empty afterwards, or what's the next mountain to climb without even celebrating the previous achievement? Or maybe keeping ourselves so busy with performing or achieving instead of sitting with ourselves or allowing someone else to really see us. But what if the most profound form of intimacy isn't about being with another, but it's about being fully present and rigorously honest with yourself? So what is intimacy with ourselves? I was listening to someone talk about how Western Tantra had it all wrong. That it's not about getting naked with someone else. It's about getting naked with ourselves. Now, I could relate to this. Not saying that Tantra is not good. I'm just relating to the self-acceptance piece of being intimate with ourselves first, which means being transparent with who we are to ourselves, warts and all, as they say. So many of us hold on to the things that we feel we've done wrong. And we've also hold stories that others have told us about ourselves as truth. Yet what other people project onto us isn't about us. It's about them. Now, in our younger years, and maybe sometimes in our adulthood, we don't realize that that projection isn't ours. And it's not your fault. Most of us didn't have good role models to show us how to look at our own wants and needs and desires, and to know that we feel or what we feel about things first before asking someone else is really important. We didn't learn that. We learned to mask our feelings and our thoughts about ourselves and to look to others for validation. To give an example, let me share a story about a client I worked with, and let's call her Linda. Linda was a very successful entrepreneur, and she had a thriving business that she loved, and she appeared on the outside to have it all together. Yet, despite her outward success, she felt an emptiness inside that she couldn't quite put her finger on. She found herself constantly seeking validation from her partner, her team, and even her friends. Always asking, do you think I'm doing a good job? Or is this the right thing for me? Or do you love me? During one of our sessions, Linda admitted that she felt disconnected from herself. Can you relate? She was so focused on meeting everyone else's expectations that she had lost touch, or maybe even never knew, her own needs, desires, and even her own sense of self-worth. I asked her to do an exercise. And what this exercise was sitting in front of a mirror with a journal for just a few minutes a day and ask herself this one question. What am I afraid to see when I look into myself? Now, as you can imagine, at first she resisted. The discomfort was so palpable. Yet over time, she began to identify the parts of herself that she had been avoiding. As she started to practice these daily, what we called into me see moments, she began to connect more deeply with herself, needing less from others and showing up more fully in her relationships because she felt more connected with herself. The more you can connect with yourself on an intimate level, the less validation you need from others. This is powerful, my friend, powerful. So let's take a few moments and let's break down this intimacy metaphor. So let's begin with this mirror exercise I shared with Linda. So imagine looking into a mirror. So you can do a real mirror, right? Or you can just close your eyes and imagine a mirror that reflects not just your physical appearance, but also your emotions, your fears, your desires. Now, this is deep work I'm asking you to do. It's not simple. I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay. Anything is simple, right? But it's not easy. But I encourage you just to try this. And I want you to notice, what parts of yourself do you avoid looking at? The insecurities, the fears, maybe even your desires. Maybe you don't feel deserving of desires. Write these down. It's powerful when we write things down. And writing them down doesn't make them worse. It's actually an act of letting them go. True intimacy means being willing to sit with all those parts, the confident, accomplished self, and the fearful, vulnerable self, without turning away. Another part of this intimacy metaphor is looking at the armor we wear. Think of the ways you shield yourself from true self-intimacy. You know, all of your achievements, perfectionism, people-pleasing, these act as armor, protecting us from the discomfort of seeing ourselves fully. I'm really familiar with this, and a lot of my clients are too. Yet this armor keeps us from truly connecting, especially with ourselves. So take a moment and ask yourself, what armor am I wearing right now? What would it feel like to take it off and let myself be seen, even if only by me? Just yourself. Because most of the time we're not even seeing ourselves because we're so busy figuring out how to show up for others. And the last part of the intimacy metaphor is where we can embrace our shadow. You're really familiar by now with the shadow work. Intimacy isn't about loving the parts of ourselves that we like. It's also about acknowledging the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we hide, deny, and judge. I don't know about you, but I got a pretty powerful judging self that pops up. So what if instead of pushing these parts away, we could embrace them with compassion? That's a thought. So ask yourself, if I could sit with one aspect of myself that I'm judging or rejecting, what would it be? And what would I say to that part of me? Maybe it's body image, or maybe it's I'm not smart enough, or maybe there's a part of us that feels, a part of you that feels that you're not lovable. And you're trying really hard to get that love by achievement. Be willing to sit with that part. What would you say? I'd love to know. So how does self-intimacy impact your relationships? When we are deeply connected with ourselves, accepting both our strengths and our flaws, we no longer seek others to complete us, like in the movie, or fill emotional gaps. This, my friend, allows us to show up in relationships as whole, authentic beings, capable of giving and receiving love without expectations or hidden agendas. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to have expectations and hidden agendas in my relationships. Like if I give this person all that they wanted, then they would give me all that I wanted, which was to be loved and seen and heard and understood and accepted. And that didn't happen. because I think you've heard expectations can be resentments waiting to happen. Yeah. Now, a couple ways to think of how self-intimacy impacts relationships could be, you could use this as an affirmation or just a thought to think about. The depth of my connection with another can only be as deep as the connection I have with myself. Let that one sit for a little bit. And another example is, if I can sit with my own discomfort, I won't need someone else to fix it for me. Instead, I can connect from a place of wholeness, creating healthier, more authentic relationships. Now, what I mean by authentic relationships is that they are fulfilling for you and the other person. You're able to allow yourself to be yourself safely. Now, to reflect on your relationship with yourself, the intimacy exercise, I'm going to recap 5 of the 10 questions here. The rest you can find in the show notes, or you can go back and listen. But number 1 is, what is it about knowing myself that I'm afraid of? Number 2, what do I believe intimacy is? And where did that belief come from? Number 3, whose story am I holding about intimacy? We all have stories. We all usually have stories from childhood, right? From what our parents did, or teachers, or other people who influenced us. Number 4, how can I practice intimacy with myself today? And number 5, what part of me have I been avoiding or hiding? I encourage you to take a look at all the questions, actually all 10, and see which one resonates for you and answer those. I think you may be surprised and delighted, maybe, at some of your answers. Today we talked about intimacy is about being willing to see ourselves clearly and to learn to love what we see. Remember that word willing is super important in this forgiveness work. I encourage you to take 5 minutes today to sit with yourself and explore one of those reflection questions. And I'd love for you to share your experience of these questions with me, either by DM on social media or email me, so I can support you on your journey of self-intimacy. And remember, the deepest connections we can create begin with the one we have with ourselves. Intimacy is where it all starts. Thank you for being here. And until next time, take care. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, would you do me a favor and share this episode, and then follow us on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss one episode of the Forgive Yourself podcast, where every Friday you will get tips, tools, and stories so that you can turn your pain into peace. Take care.